Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 in Flux. I am Peter, that is Connor. We talk about movies on this show. However, this is a special episode because this is something we just started recently. Every 3 months, give or take, we're going to do a countdown, a list, a best of, if you will. We actually did one just a month ago for the end of the year, but from here on out, it'll be one every 3 or 4 months. The idea is like a sort of quarterly type thing. We did the best movies of the 2000s, as in the decade of the noughties, if you want to call it that, which I don't. We did that last month. This is going to be our top 50 science fiction films. So, big, because we were both big fans of sci-fi, so this is a big...
Yeah, this is a much harder category, and I'm just gonna say this now. This list is okay. This is finalized. This is what we're saying. This is what it is. If you ask me again tomorrow, it'll probably have changed slightly.
I have been tinkering with it all day.
I've spent the last 3 hours sat here just going, yeah, no, that can move by one. Or oh no, what about this?
I can't remember who said this about movies, but I'm going to use this quote here. A movie is never finished. You just run out of time. That is what this list is. It's never finished. I've just run out of time, and it's time to record. So here we are, top 50 sci-fi movies. I actually could have knocked out a top 100. I've got like 50 plus, just sort of sitting over.
Honestly, if you'd asked me like a few days ago before I started doing this list, I'd have gone, do you know what? I don't know if I could. And then I started compiling the list. I'm like, yeah, I could have done 100 probably.
Probably, although when you first did your shortlist, you were just over 100. So arguably,
See, that was just off the things that I had there. Then I added like another 40 things on
oh right, okay.
that I saw in various other places.
You're lucky you didn't tell me this in advance because I said this do 100.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't saying that. We're keeping these at 50.
Oh, next time we do this in a couple of years, it'll be a top 100.
We'll see. We'll see.
Because when we get to just best films of all time, that'll be 100. That's not going to be a 50.
No, okay, that one's a special occasion. That one can be a 100.
But no, I think sci-fi is one that could be 100 down the line. Just kind of like how me and Tim did 100 horror. Yeah. I feel like it's prime for it. But
and of course, as you do that I assume you did that throughout October, which is of course the month of horror. We have made this the month of sci-fi.
Yeah, which is not as widely recognised, of course, but we made it our own thing. We made January Sci-Fi Month. The argument being that there was less TV on, so we could like focus on watching a lot of sci-fi movies, more than particularly usual. So that was what we did. I will make a slight spoiler here. As all, no one knows everything I watched this month, so it's not really that much of a spoiler. But I will say that nothing I watched this month for the first time made my list.
Oh, I've got a couple to maybe. I can see two for sure. Maybe there's a third buried in here somewhere. I'm just going off the top of my head, but there's definitely at least two I watched this month for the first time. They're gonna. A third is at number 51, which is unfortunate.
I will say there is at least one on my list that I watched for the first time for in Flux since starting this show.
Yeah, I've got a few of those.
Aye, because you hadn't seen it as much, so you had a lot of first time watches.
I've got two that neither of us had seen for sure that are on my list. You're thinking you've forgotten something now, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I'm curious now.
We'll get there when we get there.
I'm pretty sure the other one probably matches mine, but I don't know what the other one is. So, hey, but we'll find out. So we're going to do this. The way that this works is we're going to go alternate. Connor will give his number 50, I'll give my number 50. This will be 2 parts. They'll be sort of about half a week apart of each other. So this kind of... Well, normally it takes the place of the movie for the week, but we actually snuck in a little quick movie before we did this. So you're getting a movie as well. But the way this works is that it kind of fills 1 week slot, so you get both parts in the same week. So you'll get this now, and in about 3 or 4 days you'll get the next part. So you get now this is going to be numbers 50 through 26, and then part 2 will of course be number 25 through number 1. So, without further ado, Connor, what is your number... Actually, no, you wanted to do an honourable mention, didn't you?
I did. Strange.
Just to make this clear, those are mostly outlawed, mainly because I feel like it spoils things that aren't going to appear on the actual list. However, you did say this was a short film, which is kind of a weird, murky ground where it would never really appear anyway, so have at it.
It's only half an hour long. This is
legit. I was going to guess, I was right.
Oh, yeah. Again, it's so strange to compare it against all these other movies. Then I'm like, I want it on here, I want it recognised that I think it's fantastic. But... It's an odd place. Have you seen this?
I have. I like it a lot. But I would never have put it on this list because it's a short film.
Exactly. That's my problem. But it's like it deserves to be just mentioned in the conversation, I think.
It's fantastic. It's told through entirely, almost entirely still frames.
Yes.
There's like one shot that's actually video or film.
Yeah.
The rest of
Yeah.
it's all still frames, and it's told almost like a documentary with narration over the still frames. But
It's really surreal and strange, but after like 2 or 3 minutes, you get so into it.
yeah, I like it as well. It's a French movie from the '60s. It's really good, so I highly recommend that. All right, so without further ado, then kick us off proper. What is your number 50?
Interestingly, we're starting with something I watched for the first time this month. It might even be the very first movie I watched this month. Oh no, second movie I watched this month. So it's close. This is Attack the Block, which I had a blast with. You got John Boyega fighting some aliens. It's a lot of fun.
It's funny watching that now because, like, at the time you didn't realize this was going to be the new Star Wars guy and the new Doctor Who. Like,
Yes.
in a movie together with Nick Frost. I mean, I knew who Nick Frost was. He was the star at the time. At the time, Nick Frost was the star of the film.
Yeah. Now he's like, okay, he's lower down on the billing.
Yeah. Now he's like, he's just lucky to be in a movie with these stars, that are going to be made. But no, I enjoy Attack the Block.
Yeah, it's a blast. It's not like, oh, this is an amazing movie, but it's so much fun.
Well, it's good fun. It has some good arcs over the course of the movie, and it has some different than usual characters, I think, for the type of film it is.
Yeah, and a really nice design on the aliens, I thought.
Yeah, they look unique. That sort of deep black with the blue.
Yeah.
The blue eyes or whatever it was.
It's something I've not seen before. So credit there.
No, that's a fine pick. My number 50. You went for something fun. I went for the complete and total opposite. My number 50 is The Road, which is based on a book. It stars Viggo Mortensen, and it's him and his little son, who's like, I don't know, 8, 9, whatever he is. And
Give or take, yeah.
it's a post-apocalyptic film where they're traveling looking for anything. They need to survive, so they're looking for food, supplies, that kind of thing. And it's called The Road because they're just traveling the entire time. But it is depressing and as dark as shit. Like, seriously. There's a scene in this, in a bathroom, that just about... I said this in the Top 2000s video, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
But there's a scene in a bathroom that just about breaks you. It is a soul-destroying film. Fantastic music. You really feel like you're in the world as you're watching it. So that's my number 50.
It's funny, you mentioned it in the top 2000s list, and I made sure to get to that this month, and I also thought it was fantastic. It's a great movie. And again, complete opposite of Attack the Block.
Complete opposite. But yeah, that's The Road. What's your 49?
Something new. This is from last year. Another. You'll notice this clump here that I've got. These are the... Okay, here's a blast of fun to get me going. I got Power Rangers.
Okay, all right.
Again, close contention at this bottom section here, where I'm like, no, I had a lot of fun with that. I thought it was better than I expected by far.
I think anyone who liked it would say it's better than they expected.
No, yeah, that's true.
And to be fair, I think us, Mild Fuzz TV as a group, are, I think, oddly all positive on it, because it wasn't like unanimously liked, throughout the interwebs, but me, you, and Matt all really liked it. We have other friends who also quite like it.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's perfect, but for what it is, my God, it's great at that stuff.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Well, it's funny you bring that up because I have not got Power Rangers on my list, but my next pick is definitely fitting into the I grew up with this. This fits into my nostalgia sweet spot kind of thing. And there's a few of these throughout here because I think science fiction is one that it's been with me since I was a kid. Some movies that I should have been watching at that age, some movies that I shouldn't have been watching at that age.
Oh yeah.
But this is one that you should be watching at an early age, and that is Flight of the Navigator. If you're unfamiliar with this, a kid is abducted by aliens, by a spaceship, and comes back. He thinks he's just been gone for a night. He has no memory of the time that's passed, but he's actually been gone for, it's been a while since I've watched it, but it was like 8 years, something like that. Like, his brother's like now, like, late teens, that kind of age. Yeah. There's different people living in his house, so he ends up being at an experimenting lab where they're doing tests on him to try and figure out, what's happened to him. They're all shady government folk. And then the spaceship, which is sentient and has an AI that talks to him called Max, basically flies them home. It is a feel-good science fiction. Obviously, it's not as well remembered as your similar things from the era, but I love Flight of the Navigator. I loved the shit out of this growing up, and I still love the shit out of it. So it's feel good.
I'm familiar with it, but I've never actually watched it.
It's got a cool.
It was not on my radar when I was younger.
It's a cool ship. The friendship that he has with the AI is really cool, and then it's just very heartwarming. It's just no. It's you can tell it only exists because something like ET was successful and other stuff like that. But I like Flight of the Navigator a lot. So no, there you go. What's your 49? 48.
48. Yeah, I was gonna say you threw me for a second there. No, keeping on theme. This is actually Kong Skull Island. Big dumb monster fun.
I've definitely seen more sci-fi films than you.
No, not necessarily. I have a soft spot for the monster fun.
Okay.
But they come in at there's a reason they're at the bottom of the list here. They're not okay, they're not top tier movies, but they're no. These are the movies that I do like a lot and I want them represented.
I'm just saying, like, the movies you've said so far I like a lot, but they're all lower for me. They're all, if I was doing a top 100, like I was trying to get you to do, then they'd probably be on there somewhere. But hey, so my number 48. Interestingly, this is a movie that it felt like I could have grew up with this as a kid, but it was actually just made a couple of years ago, and that is Turbo Kid, which is basically Mad Max on BMX. You got Michael Ironside as the villain. You've got ridiculous over-the-top gore. You have a kid who essentially finds the Nintendo Power Glove that gives him like a super power suit, and you've got an android who he falls in love with. It is heartwarming. It is cheery. It is ridiculously over-the-top with his violence at times, and it is just it's everything I want in a light. I don't even want to call it lighthearted necessarily, but it's definitely got that 80s, because it's set in the post-apocalyptic future of 1997, even though it was made like 2 years ago. So I highly recommend Turbo Kid. If everything I just said there sounds cool to you, I think you'll dig the hell out of that movie.
It's fine.
Connor has bad taste. What's your number 47?
47. Keeping with the big dumb movies, Pacific Rim. Another one I watched for the first time this month.
Okay.
Again, these are at the bottom. There's a reason. But I have a soft spot for big things punching other big things, apparently. What should we say? And I'm not going to lie, that bloody theme has been stuck in my head all month. It's catchy as shit, and I'm at a point now where I hate it, but it's still in my head.
Alright, my number 47 is Pitch Black, which is the first Riddick film. This was kind of a sleeper hit at the time. It kind of came out of nowhere, and it was kind of like a play on like the old Aliens concept, where you've got this planet with a gimmick where the aliens can only come out when it's dark. But the planet has 3 suns, so no big deal. What's the problem? Except, of course, we're all building up to the eclipse that happens once every several decades or whatever it is. There's a total eclipse. But our main character Riddick. Well, he's not our main character, but one of our main characters, Riddick, is a criminal who they can't trust, but he can see in the dark. So he is very useful. So you have this, trusting someone who you can't quite trust because he's a murderer, but you also have the aliens with a gimmick, and you have like the fight for survivors trying to light up the surroundings. It's what I love in like a nice simple premise. I know it doesn't sound that simple when I'm explaining it all, but it actually is. When it gets down to it, we need to keep the light on to stay alive. Yeah. It comes down to that, and that's really fun. I like it when you can boil it down to that simple survival idea. So, Pitch Black, and there's a good character arcs, and I do think this is still the best of the bunch, although the third one, Riddick, was pretty good too. So
spoilers for the rest of your list that they're not showing up.
Yeah, but there's plenty that could be showing up. Trust me,
No.
Plenty to go.
That's fair. 46 then. Okay, so I have Source Code. I think this is a different sort of time travel movie, in that it's on a loop. You go back and it's like, okay, can we change this thing? Okay, what's the objective here? It's a bit of a mystery for a while, and it's like, okay, no, we know there's this thing that happened, and this is going to happen. This is roughly what's going. It's your job to figure it out.
Yeah, it's basically there was like what appeared to be a terrorist attack on a train, and they can sort of beam this guy back into the last like 12 minutes of this guy's, one of the passengers' lives. They can beam him into the last 12 minutes, and they can keep living through it to see kind of all the things that might have happened And
Try and establish things a little bit further each time and go, okay, what actually happened? It's uncovering the mystery.
yeah, and eventually the fact that he dies at the end of every loop becomes really funny because you start getting really funny deaths. No, I like that a lot. It's a very good Duncan Jones film. Jake Gyllenhaal's good in it. What's Monaghan? I want to say is the female lead.
Maybe I'm not gonna remember her name.
I can't remember.
It was a proper surprise movie for me though, because I kind of just picked this up on a whim on Blu-ray one day. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And then it was a lot better than the description made it sound on the back of the case.
And Vera Farmiga's in it as well. I think that's the first thing I saw her in, but I like her a lot. I've come to see her and all this stuff as well since then.
Yeah.
Most people probably know her from Bates Motel now, but I like her too. No, that's a solid pick. My number 46 is Star Trek First Contact, which, aka the only good Next Generation movie, which involves a bit of time travel, it involves the Borg, it involves a lot of action. I know some hardcore Star Trek fans don't love this because it turns it into too much of an action movie, but as someone who's not watched Next Gen yet, this movie worked the best for me out of the four, easily. It was fun, it has a great score, I love the main theme. Do you know what, I really miss opening title sequences where you just get to hear the main sort of suite of the music as the titles come at you.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things that struck out when I watched this for the first time, maybe, well, it's probably about 10 years now actually, now that I think about it, but it feels recent enough. And yeah, it's fun, it's got heart, the characters all got stuff to do, and the Borg are a really cool villain. I'm really looking forward, because we're working our way through Star Trek, of course, every week. We're on the original series right now. I'm looking forward to getting to the Borg in Next Gen and getting some of those classic episodes. What I will say about the Star Trek movies though is I feel like when we get to those and we watch them all again, I feel like where they would appear on my list will probably shuffle around and maybe jump up.
No, that makes sense. I'm unfortunate that I've never seen any of these original movies, and I kind of wanted to watch them this month just because we were doing sci-fi month, but as we're working through, I thought, no, I might as well hold off and
it just
watch
makes
them in place.
Yeah, it makes more sense to watch them, watch the 6 original movies between the 2 series and then so on. So
it does.
But yeah, so they'll probably shuffle around a lot when I see them again, because I've seen most of these only once, but our First Contact hits my 46 from that viewing.
Okay.
So.
No, it's a nice lead-in, because my 45 is actually a Star Trek movie.
Oh?
It's Star Trek Beyond. It's I think the best of the 3 new movies, which are the only 3 movies of the franchise I've seen. But I thought it was excellent. It was the best blockbuster that year, probably. Which, I mean, admittedly isn't saying that much.
2016 was a really bad year for blockbusters.
Yeah.
It was really rough.
But it was really fun. It captured the heart of Star Trek more than any of the other 2 movies did, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I got me some Bones and Spock, which is my favourite pairing. So.
Yep, no, I agree with all those points. It had a lot of heart as well. It was paying homage to not just Leonard Nimoy, but even Anton Yelchin, who passed away as well. He was in the movie, but he passed away before it came out. So it was paying homage to various people, and it felt like I wasn't expecting it to actually go into like Leonard Nimoy's as much. I mean, obviously they treat it as Spock, passed away.
But they kind of made it a big deal, didn't they?
Yeah, they kind of, it was a kind of a fitting tribute to him. It's a real shame that this, just as these movies were starting to feel more like Star Trek and get proper good, that they kind of didn't do as well, and now we're probably going to be getting another reboot of some kind for the movies. But
probably it's interesting because I did like the first one. I thought it was still a good movie. Maybe it's not a great Star Trek movie, but I think it's a pretty good, fun movie. The second one I think is mediocre. It's all right.
I feel like I'm going to hate the second one a lot more when I see it again.
Yeah, I get that.
I didn't hate it the first time. I think it's the weakest of the 3, even on my first viewing, but I feel like I'm not going to properly hate it like a lot of people do until I see it again.
Yeah, that's the thing. I haven't seen it again, since we've been watching through a lot of Star Trek, and I think I didn't hate it, but it's just like it's okay.
It's got a lot of stupid plot elements and scripting issues.
It's just got problems, hasn't it?
That and The Amazing Spider-Man 2 were basically the same goddamn film in a lot of ways, which is really annoying. But anyway, my number 45 is actually another one that I've grown up with, although arguably one that I shouldn't have been watching at a young age, but I did anyway, and that is The Running Man. The plot of this, it's in the future, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is basically... He's in like a sort of work camp, and he escapes with his buddies, but then they get captured. And in this world... criminals go onto a TV show, a game show, a reality show called The Running Man, where they basically have to go through a series of like, imagine like various like game shows from that era, 80s and 90s, where they had like zones and worlds where they'd be themed, but they'd have like a villain, like a gladiator-esque sort of bad guy for each zone, and they'd have to fight them. One was like, like I think it was called Sub-Zero, but he was like an ice hockey themed play like character who tried to kill you with his hockey sticks and stuff
As
like that. Yeah. But good fun. It was like, it's a really good dumb action movie, but it's also just got really fun visuals, really nice ideas. Everyone remembers Sub-Zero now Plane Zero after he kills him, like moments like that. It's a classic Arnie movie, and I cherish it dearly. Based on a book by Stephen King, no less.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I actually didn't know about that one.
Yeah, there you go.
He's got too many to keep track of. Not gonna lie.
He churns them out.
He does. He's got his average must be 3 or 4 per year at least. So what's that? Number 44. Okay, so I have Under the Skin, which I feel like Peter's going to think like that might be too low. I feel like he's going to have it higher up. Just a hunch.
I'm not revealing a damn thing.
Yeah, no, just a hunch. This is an excellent mood piece of a movie. This is, Scarlett Johansson as this alien stalking the streets, and it's kind of terrifying. The fact that you're not saying anything tells me you've got it later and just.
I just thought you'd have more to say, but if
I wanted to see if you're.
Oh, no, it's as you say, it's a mood piece. It's a very Kubrick-esque kind of movie. I mean, the opening's very sort of surreal, and you're not really sure what's going on. I have fond memories of sitting in a theater and like everyone around me just being like bewildered by what they were seeing, and I was just thinking, this is art house as shit. Everyone else but me is going to hate this.
I wish I'd seen this in the cinema. I didn't catch it in the cinema at the time. I got it not long after it got the home release, I think.
Yeah.
And I watched it with a group of friends who I was living with at the time. And there was 5 of us. 3 of them hated it. One of them walked out, unsurprisingly. And then 2 of us kind of like, oh yeah, I'm feeling this.
Yeah. It's that type of movie. It is an art house movie, absolutely through and through. That is very worth mentioning. My number 44. Speaking of art house, actually, I have Another Earth, which is a Brit Marley movie. You may have seen her in the OA, which she also writes. I think she co-wrote this as well, and she's in this. And the plot of this is that Another Earth, as the title would imply, appears in the sky, or not. Maybe not the sky is not the right word, but it's out close. You can see it in the sky.
Yes.
And it just appears there one day. So at first it's a dot, but then it starts getting bigger, and you can kind of see it. Because a lot of the trailers use the shots where you can just clearly see it, like huge in the sky, and it's like you can see this other Earth. And basically, Britt Merlin's character is involved in an accident where she accidentally kills someone's wife because she's drunk driving. And throughout the film, the guy doesn't know it's her, and she tries to get close to him to find out because she's trying to deal with her guilt. But it's a very, again, low-key art house sci-fi movie that plays with ideas. It's very much a character drama first and foremost before it is any of the wacky sci-fi stuff. But that really comes into it, and the idea of what's that other Earth like, because a big part of it is that there's a competition for the first flight to this other Earth. The 2 Earths are going to exchange, like a ship with passengers so they can visit the other Earth, and she's going to enter a competition to be on that, so she can have a second chance, like a new life on this second Earth. But if you like the OA and you like that tone and like mood and that kind of art housey stuff, I'd highly recommend it. If you hated the OA, I'd stay far away from this as possible. It's definitely the similar vibes.
I remember you telling me about this when we were watching the OA, because I don't think I'd heard of it before that. And I remember you telling me, I'm like, I should check this out because I like the OA. And Still haven't.
Ah, yeah, I keep forgetting about it, but there
I
you go.
do. It just doesn't stay on my radar for whatever reason.
Hmm.
Number 43, I have District 9. This is again, this is one I think that showed up in our 2000s list if you followed that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is aliens on Earth, but it's very much about racial tensions, migration, all those sorts of things that are very classic sci-fi themes, but done in a different way than usual, I think.
Yeah,
They're in this big, refugee camp essentially.
I mean, it's basically a concentration camp.
Shanty
At
town.
one
Yeah.
point, someone says it calls it. Yeah, it's got like a full documentary style at parts, but it kind of switches between that and like a regular movie. It's got an interesting main character who has a really strong character arc, and it treats some of the aliens like real, like, forgive the word, human characters, and yeah, it's got some really cool action as well and good music.
It does, and very interesting designs for the aliens.
The prawns, as they call them.
Yes, as they do.
Yeah,
As being more respectful.
they're fictional.
I know, I'm kidding.
My number 43, we're getting relatively recent here. My number 43 is Ex Machina, which is a very bottle movie, sci-fi movie dealing with AI and technology and robots and all that jazz. You got a strong cast, you got 3 characters in an isolated building in the middle of nowhere, basically exploring the Turing test and can someone pass for human, and what does it mean to be human and actually have self-awareness and those kind of ideas. Very pretty, very moody, and yeah, I'll leave it at that. I've got a feeling Connor's going to mention this one later, so I'll just...
Yeah, I'll tell you that now. I mean, the thing is, we covered this earlier in the year on Influx, so people who've been following along, they know our thoughts on that. They know how we feel, so they know what to expect. So we'll leave that there for now.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what's funny, actually? Everyone that you've brought up that I know is not going to show up in my list, I actually still quite like. There's nothing you've mentioned yet
They're coming.
that I don't like. I'm sure there will be. I'm just looking at my next one though and going, oh, Connor's going to hate that.
There's one I know for a fact you don't like, and there's one that I know you haven't seen, but if you did, you would hate. I can't wait to tell you about that one.
Oh, goody.
Yes, but no. This is one that I think that you will more likely approve of at 42. I have Clockwork Orange. This is classic Kubrick. This dystopian future, and it's very horrifying.
It's a hard watch. There's a lot of disturbing stuff in that movie.
There is. It's uncomfortable. Is one way of saying it, I suppose, which would maybe be putting it lightly. It's brutal. It's psychological, but it doesn't. It often restrains what it's actually showing you. It just feels very visceral.
Yeah, it's visceral. You see enough and you hear enough that your mind that fills in a lot of the blanks, and it makes it a really disturbing watch. No, I can't fault Clockwork Orange as a pick. My number 42, one we've done on Flux that Cora wasn't that keen on, and that is The Fifth Element.
Yeah, I didn't hate it.
No, I like The Fifth Element a lot. This is one, again, from my childhood. I was a kid, I saw this in the theatre when I was very young, and this succeeds. Like, I recently watched Valerian, which from Luc Besson, who's the same director, and I hated that movie basically. And it just, like, for me, it's just, there's so many things that, like, yeah, you can kind of tell it's from the same person. It's got that bright, colourful sci-fi thing to it. But because of the time period, this has a lot of practical effects, so it doesn't look as phony as Valerian did. It has good cast, but they have chemistry and can carry a movie.
I have a question. The way you're talking about these two movies kind of sounds like the George Lucas effect.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Valerian's necessarily as bad as some of the Star Wars prequels. I've not seen it.
No, it's definitely not. But
the way you're talking about it, it's like I can see
yeah,
what it is, but it's okay. No, this is just special effects for the sake of it. And
so also he's forgotten to cast a movie properly.
Yeah,
which is also kind of true. I mean, there's some good actors in the prequels, but it's not as well cast.
Across the board, it's definitely not.
I mean,
well
Hayden
cast.
Christensen is
atrocious. Yeah,
is the soft thumb that's just sticking out at you the entire time.
Yeah.
I guess comparison. But I love it. You got flying cars in the city. You got this ridiculous over the top plot with this sentimental like core that's kind of cheesy but kind of works. You got Gary Oldman, being the villain. You got Bruce Willis being Die Hard in space. Is that as if his character in Die Hard's called Die Hard, but John McClane, you know what I meant?
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's just great. I love it. Everything's bright and colourful. It pops. It is a very unique blend of sci-fi that I feel like the big budget stuff doesn't normally hit, and that's probably because it comes from Luc Besson, who's like as European or and as French as they come. So,
Yeah.
But it gives it an interesting art style, which I really like.
Yeah.
So,
Again, I didn't love this movie. I didn't hate it though, and it's obviously it's not showing up on my list. But I don't begrudge anyone having this on theirs. At 41, I have Godzilla 2014. Yeah. This is one that I'm actually kind of scared to rewatch because I saw this in the cinemas, and it had a hell of an impact in the cinema.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried it won't hold up once I rewatch it because a lot of that was the feel of the atmosphere, hearing those sounds on a big cinema system.
Yeah, the scene where they're dropping into San Francisco after the monsters have taken it over is absolutely fantastic.
It is, and I still remember that in the trailer where you had the Monolith music from 2001 playing over that.
Yeah, but it's still in the score as well. You hear that as you first see Godzilla in the movie.
Yeah. It's different places in the trailer, but yeah, oh man. It was an experience, and I hope it holds up next time I watch it.
I've seen it a few times, actually, and I actually think it does mostly hold up if you liked it the first time. Some people hate this movie. This is probably quite a divisive pick to put in here.
It might well be, yeah.
Because some people really don't like it. But I actually quite liked 2014 Godzilla. It's just funny because I stick up for that a lot, and then Edwards went on to make Rogue One, which I'm the first in the pitchfork line with that one.
But, yeah, here you are.
But no, I like it a lot, and that's not to say that I defend every because some of the complaints that people have are valid. Yeah, the characters aren't that great, but for me,
yeah, but we've just been working through the Godzilla movies.
Yeah,
it
doesn't matter to me that the characters aren't that great.
Yeah.
I like the situations they get in too much to give a shit, really. I mean, do I wish Bryan Cranston was actually there the whole time? Of course I do. He's Bryan Cranston. He's great.
But man, and I know people go, "Oh, they held off Godzilla too long," but. Oh, when Godzilla shows up!
Oh yeah, it's an entrance, and then the fights at the end are great.
Oh my god,
I love
fantastic!
I think I actually geeked out like a little kid when the atomic breath kicked in.
I get it.
When I realised that's what was about to happen, there was this moment of glee. I was fanboying so hard in that theatre seat. I'm not gonna lie.
I honestly think it's a great movie.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Not so much for the characters, but I do like it a lot. So 41, just a slightly different number from what you had it at. This is our first duplicate, I think. A Clockwork Orange, number 41 for me. Basically what you said, not to go into it. I'll just, it is very visceral. I think it has some really unique imagery. I think that shot of the four guys coming down the under the bridge is so iconic. And I'll just add on that obviously a lot of these movies have porn parodies. I just want to say the title of A Clockwork Orgy, it may be one of the best porn parody titles ever.
It's not bad.
So I'm giving it. I think the only one that beats it for me, honestly, is A Wet Dream in Elm Street, for obvious reasons, because that is so good.
That is fantastic. But naming porn parodies is an art.
It is, and they kind of just gave up eventually and just started saying XXX parody at the end of the regular title.
Yeah, I lose all respect for anyone who did that.
Yeah, bollocks. But no, it's very good. Like I say, it's very disturbing. It sticks with you in your head because it does have such a disturbing style, and I like how the second half takes a character who has been irreprehensible the entire time, and you don't feel bad for him per se, but you do start to wonder. It's almost like a White Bear, Black Mirror, where this isn't like rehabilitation. This is something else.
It becomes sadistic.
Yeah, obviously
it becomes.
It's satirical, of course. It's a very satirical story.
It's kind of becomes okay. This is just inhumane at a point, even to someone who is not a good person. Yeah,
hate and violence breed hate and violence. To sum that up, what's your 40?
My 40 is the second time that we're going to have a duplicate here because I've got The Road. So a little bit higher than you had it. And again, maybe this is it's fresh in my mind because obviously I just watched this for the first time this month. But I thought it was great. I really did. And, the scene you keep mentioning every time we do these countdowns. My God, that scene.
That scene indeed. No, I mean, I said my thing. So
Yeah.
we will move on. Interestingly, you just had the Godzilla 2014. I have another Gareth Edwards movie here. Number 40 for me is Monsters,
Hmm.
which is essentially a love. Well, I don't want to say a love story, but it's a drama about two characters who kind of fall for each other. Whilst they're going through the I can't remember what they call it in the movie, but it's like the alien monsters have kind of invaded a certain part of the planet, and it's been kind of cordoned off, so it's just kind of that area is the, but he's been like sort of hired to try and help get this woman through the monster territory to escort her. Yeah, or is he tagging along because there's like a SWAT team taking her through? It's been hours since I've watched it. I can't remember the exact setup, but once like the team get taken out quite quickly, and it's just them. And it's them exploring the jungle and like dodging the monsters and getting past the various things that have been left in their wake and getting to the big wall that's going to lead back to civilization. And it's just, some people don't like it. Some people think it's like a really slow, because it isn't focused on. It's not like a Godzilla movie where you've got monster attacks all the time and there's a lot of like big action stuff. There's a little bit of that, but it's more about the characters, and it's more about looking at pairings and love and romance, and looking at how human beings treat people, and it's just a movie about humanity. And I love the ending. I think the ending's very poignant and very bittersweet. And it stuck with me after I watched it. And just to add on the impressive factor, all the visual effects for the movie, Gareth Edwards did himself on a laptop, I believe, if I recall the story correctly.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. This is a movie that I planned to watch in this month, but I didn't get round to. I have had this sat on my shelf, no. There's a story to this one.
Okay.
For approximately 3 years, because I had a lecture on this. Because I studied film music. And we watched a few of the scenes, including the ending, which is always a little frustrating when that happens. But I loved what I saw so much that I went out and bought it, and I went, I'm not going to watch it yet. I'm going to wait for that to fade in my mind a little bit. Annoyingly, that ending is still really vivid in my mind, so I'm just going to give up at some point.
That's because it's so beautiful.
No, it is. It's. I thought, sometimes these fade over a couple of years. But no, so I'll just get this watched probably this year.
And it makes the monsters in this a little bit unique. I don't want to say why, because it kind of spoils what that ending is, but it makes them unique from other monster movies in a way that I really like.
It does.
And you mentioned the music. The music's really good. I like the main theme a lot.
Yeah, so. It's fantastic.
No.
What number are you on?
39.
Sorry. 39. 39. I have a classic. This is a classic. Jurassic Park. Now, arguably, this is too low for some.
If Matt, looks at this list, he is going to lynch you.
Do you know what? I can't wait till we're going to do this countdown in the Facebook group, and we'll post our lists afterwards. I'm waiting for his reaction.
Matt, he may have like Star Wars above it, but I feel like Matt's Jurassic Park's like in the top 1 or 2 for him.
I feel like as a general rule for Matt, you have Star Wars, Jurassic Park, and Indiana Jones just at the top of everything.
Yeah, but Indy's not,
No, it doesn't count for this.
Yeah.
It just is a rule of thumb for life.
Yes.
That's Matt in a nutshell. But I mean, this is a great movie, isn't it? It's a classic for a reason. You've got some fantastic looking effects on the dinosaurs. I mean, let's get that out there.
Which hold up, because some of it is not CG, it's practical. Stan Winston was involved in making puppets and all sorts.
Yeah, it's a really impressive mixture, and I think it's something films could remember is, hey, mixtures work. You enhance what you've got.
Mixtures work better.
They do.
I will stand by that phrase forever, but movie shows don't want to hear about it. They just want to make CG's easy. That's just the CG.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just not as good. It's just not.
I mean, luckily CG keeps getting better and better, so I mean, eventually it may not matter that much, but
no, of course. But there's a way where having some practical grounds the CG. It makes the CG better as well. It pulls it up with it.
That said, then you get your Apes movies from the last few years saying, "Hey, look at this. We don't need no practical. We can just do it." But hey,
true.
My number, what are we on? 39. I went, I had like the ultra dark Clockwork Orange, then I went to like the sort of like low key sci-fi romance drama with monsters. I'm going to flat out comedy satire with Galaxy Quest for number 39. I'm bouncing around the moods. So Galaxy Quest is extremely entertaining. It is a love letter to Star Trek, fans of Star Trek, fandom in general. Great cast. Obviously, we did this not too long ago on Flux, and yeah. So I mean, you can go watch that like 40-50 minute video
for the full details.
For the full details, but I love all the tropes it plays with, all the various characters. And in fact, I'll use this to bring up something. I think during the review, you said you thought Alan Rickman's character was based on
Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
However, some people informed me that Leonard McCoy wrote a book called I'm Not Spock, and was sort of against his. And honestly, given most of it seems more original cast based, I feel like it's more.
No, that
Spock.
works. I stand by my logic when I said that.
Yeah.
Very much the thespian disappointed in being pigeonholed.
For the record, he also went on to write a book called I Am Spock later on. So he came to peace with it.
A very similar journey to Patrick Stewart then.
Well, I think you get better for a while, then you get older, and you realise, you know what, I'm kind of lucky to have the life I've had.
It happened in another example that stuck me recently was Doctor Who. You know, the guy who played the Master recently.
Oh yeah,
John Sim. He hated it for about 3 years, and he would go, no, I don't want to be. No one mention this to me. I want to be. I want to do other stuff. I want people to know I'm more than just that. And now he's like, yeah, no, go on then. It's fine.
Interesting. What's your 38?
My 38. This is one that came up in the 2000s list. This is Cowboy Bebop the movie. It's a great extended episode of the show. Essentially, it takes place towards the end of the show. Obviously, it was released a few years later, but it has a placement. It's a fun journey. It's a little romp. It's not too serious. It's it's a little overlong at points, but overall it hits all the beats that you want from that, and it tonally consistent.
For the record, this is the first thing on your list I've not seen.
That's fine. And I said, there's one on my list that you've not seen that you'll hate. Mm-hmm. This wasn't it.
Oh, because you've said repeatedly that I'd like Cowboy Bebop. I'm just. Being,
I think you would. Yeah.
I'm being stubborn. My number 38. Now I've got a classic, and that is Planet of the Apes, the original 1968. We did this as well, actually, just before War came out last year. We made a point of going back and doing this one, and it held up really well. If anything, the satire and the political commentary, the social commentary, was even stronger than it ever has been, because it's still super relevant. Everything was working on multiple layers as well. It was working from, just the idea of people in power, making sure they're still in power, and poo-pooing other ideas, and all these other things. Like, it had all that greatly through and through. And then on top of that, you do have just the fun action and the Charlton Heston like fighting the apes and all the rest of it, and of course the classic twist ending. So
yes, which you could probably spoil because it's no longer a twist.
True. Everyone, they always put in the covers and there in the posters, yes. But yeah, just for the sake of it,
respect for spoilers.
Yeah, hey, I'll say this: I do not think there's an expiration date on spoilers. I think you can get more open with them, but I do not think under any circumstance there is you should ever be enough of a douchebag not to at least say in the title, or at least don't put a spoiler in the title of your thing, right? You just make it clear you're going to be talking about this. You don't necessarily have to give a spoiler warning, but
that's the thing. If I see an article, you're going to be talking about Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
fair enough. I'm going to assume if I haven't seen it, I'm not going to look at it because you're probably going to want to talk spoilers at this point.
Same with Sixth Sense, right? You know what? Obviously, you can start talking about the spoilers, but just make it clear in your title you're going to talk about the Sixth Sense. That's all I'm saying. Like, I think that is just courtesy. But
I agree. I don't think it's too much to ask for. But the internet disagrees.
The internet, yeah, I don't. Anyway, what's your 37?
My 37 is Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior. This is my favorite of the original three. It is a blast. It is so much fun. Lots of car mechanic nonsense, which kind of sums up the series as a whole, really, I guess.
Yeah, it's basically the desert version of Waterworld.
See, now, why'd you have to do that? This, I don't know where to go with that now. You've just ruined this. What's the point? There's nothing I can say about Mad Max 2 now that is worth saying because you've ruined it by bringing Waterworld into it.
My number 37 is Gattaca, which is a fantastic film. This is one of your sort of rare examples of a Hollywood sci-fi movie that's actually mostly about the thinking and less about the action.
Really
Action.
really refined.
It is refined. You got Guy Pearce, who I like a lot. You got Uma Thurman, you got Jude Law, and it's set in a world that seems more and more believable given what you hear in the news as time goes on. But basically, they can predict as soon as you're born, they can read your DNA and say, "Hey, this person's got a X% chance of cancer by this age," and basically, instead of discriminating based on race, sex, sexuality, that sort of stuff, now in this future, they discriminate based on if you're likely to have a healthy long life or not. So basically Guy Pearce is told you can't be anything but, you know, simple menial jobs because you're not likely to last. So there's
no point, essentially.
So it's all about him saying, no, screw destiny, screw, you know, that's, I mean, it's not destiny, but that's kind of what it still is in a weird way. He's saying, screw destiny, I can do this. And it's all about him basically infiltrating and pretending to be someone else so that he can to achieve his dream of becoming an astronaut. And that's kind of the movie. It's very good.
It's very much, no. I make my own choices. I live my own life. You don't tell me what to do.
Life is left to chance, and it always will be. So
it's a great movie. A phenomenal score.
Oh yeah, very good score. Every time I watch it, the theme is like stuck in my head for days, weeks even. Yeah. So that's my 37.
Yeah. No, it's funny because it's actually my 36.
Oh, very good.
So we could just move straight on.
Every so often that happens on these lists. It's bizarre. It usually happens once per list. It happened with me and Tim once or twice.
Yeah, I think on the 2000s we had one that was the exact same number.
Yeah. I fancy that. To be fair, that would have happened with Clockwork Orange if we were going in the opposite order.
It would have, yeah.
It's only because it's you going first that it kind of had something in between. Anyway, so my 36 is Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. This is there's the Star Trek one where the time travel to present day, at the time, of course, for 1986, I want to say. 86, 87, whatever year it came out. And basically, they have to try and get... I can't remember... I assume it's... basically, they need... To get home, they need something from nuclear missiles or something like that. But the point being is you've got Chekhov in like New York City... is it San Francisco? I think it's San Francisco, because I'm seeing the Golden Gate Bridge in the poster. It's been a while since I've watched it, clearly, right? But he's going around a city, present day US, he's Russian, and he's asking for nuclear vessels, right? It's an old meme, people spread it around all the time. Of course, Kirk kind of has a love interest in present day that he kind of charms. But
I've never seen that before.
But I try to get home. It's got a whole save the whale message going on. Yeah, I know.
I'm vaguely familiar with that as a thing, but I have no context for it yet, and I can't wait till we get there.
If I recall, they have to go back, because whales are extinct in the future, so they have to go back to present day to get some whales, because they need whales to save the day. That's the plot of the movie.
Oh, you know, we should be getting to these movies in the second half of this year, sometime after summer, right?
Yeah, late summer, around then, yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah,
can't wait to finally experience these.
I'm looking forward to revisiting it. Like obviously some of the early plot details are a bit hazy in my head, but all the stuff of them riding on like the subway at various points and try to blend in, the ship being invisible but sitting in a park, so like, you know, like a dog will run into it at one point or something like that. Like, it is a blast. It is definitely a goofier one. It's a lot of like fun as opposed to like the serious plot of like Wrath of Khan or something like that. But I love it. Star Trek IV: Voyage Home.
Oh, that's cool. My 35 is one that you've mentioned not so long ago, actually. This is happening a bit more and more in this area now. This is the original Planet of the Apes.
Ah.
Yeah, for all the reasons you said. You know, we reviewed this, nearly a year ago at this point? 9 months? I don't know.
No, it was more like May time.
May time? Yeah. Okay. So, all right, a bit over half a year. Oh, don't blame me. Time's funny. I mean, time is very funny. That's, you know... Big things, but great movie. And like I say, it really holds up. And the costumes, yeah, they're not bad. The actual ape costumes, I think they're something that could have looked really rough, especially given that, you know, the benchmark that we have from the new ape films. But for what they are, they're pretty solid.
Yeah, obviously I talked about it, so I will move on to my 35, which is one you've mentioned already, and that is Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior. But I'll talk about it properly. I won't get sidetracked with Waterworld like he did. So
You did that. You're a dick.
no, this is like, you've got like they worship cars and shit. Like this little town has an oil tanker, and obviously oil in the wasteland in the post-apocalyptic future is very hard to come by. So you've got all these gangs, these ridiculous costumes. It's great. There's great car chases. You got Mad Max being the kind of the reluctant but hero who's going to save the day. The first movie I've not watched in a long time. I'll be curious to do these at some point on Flux to revisit it. I don't remember loving the first movie when I saw it.
See, this is the thing. I watched these two a few months before Fury Road came out, and I watched those two back to back. And I thought the first one was all right, but I think it's fascinating how it went in this direction for the second one, because the first one's so kind of straight.
They're very different movies.
They are. The first one plays everything's pretty normal. There's a few weird things here and there, but it's mostly reasonably realistic. And this one just kind of goes, nah, screw it.
Yeah.
Crazy tribe people.
And it's saying that George Miller is involved in all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he had to like co-direct the third one, if I remember right, which is the only one I've not seen, might I add.
It's the only one I've not seen too.
So I'm looking forward to getting to that at some point and getting the Tina Turner Mad Max in my repertoire. But no, Mad Max 2: Road Warrior. It's a great action movie, great sci-fi movie, and it's basically the movie that all post-apocalyptic movies from then on kind of took inspiration from in some way. This became a big hit. It was called The Road Warrior in most places in the West when it first came out because they didn't have Mad Max 1 yet. So it was just The Road Warrior for a long time. And then Mad Max 2 became more known later on when they actually got the first one.
But ultimately, you don't really need to have seen the first one.
Oh, you don't? No, it works without it. But, I mean, obviously I'm a stickler for...
oh, yeah, continuity. Watch things when you can.
But hey, so what's your 34?
My 34, we're going a bit more recent. This is Arrival. This is the 2016 movie? That sounds about right. Look, I'm still trying to figure out what year I'm in now. I'm not quite caught up to 2018 yet. So bear with me on years and dates in general. Not my strong point. No jokes. I can sense them. But this is a very different movie of an alien arrival. This is all about how do we communicate. So, Amy Adams in one of her best performances. Translating, trying to understand language at its core, and the idea of conversing with another species, and it's handled in such a very beautiful way.
Yeah, it's like the English class equivalent of Waterworld.
Nah, we're done here.
Oh, that's my new favourite running joke. No, Arrival is very good. Arrival is proper heady science fiction filmmaking. It's all about the ideas rather than big action set pieces or anything like that. And it's a very unique and particular focus. Let's talk about language and how we translate and how we communicate. It's all about communication. Obviously, there's a social message like all good science fiction has. This was a very, very strong film. I can't fault the pick. What are we on? 34. My 34, also a relatively recent film. Very different though. This is Dread. Because Dread. No, this is a giant homage to John Carpenter. It feels like a John Carpenter movie with a John Carpenter score. You got Dread. It's a bottle movie. It's mostly set in this one high-rise building. You've got a ridiculous villain who's over the top and how evil she is, and you've got Dredd being gruff and I don't care what goes on, I'm doing the law. Like he's kind of like a Snake Plissken-esque thing. That's kind of where some of the comparisons to John Carpenter comes up, but it's very slick. It was very impressive when it came out, and it still kind of hurts that it bombed so hard that the chances of a sequel are nigh on impossible. That said, there is hope that this TV show might get Carl Urban and we'll get essentially a TV show out of this.
I'm still kind of I don't pray, but if I did, that'd be what I'd be praying for.
Yeah. Pray to Dennis Hopper and Waterworld that you'll get a Dread sequel.
No, I don't even need a sequel. I want the TV show with Carl Urban.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just get Carl Urban in this. Make it, make this. Okay, no, that's that Dread world.
Yeah, get Carl Urban and get the actress. I can't remember her name. Who did Anderson? in the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, no, they were great.
You need those two. That's all you need. Get those two actors, and you can just make a show, following that movie. Easy.
You can, because that kind of functions as a pilot for a TV show in many ways.
It does. What's your 33?
My 33, this is War for the Planet of the Apes.
The primate version of Waterworld.
For God's sake. Why are we still doing this? Why are we here? Everything's just this. You know how things do. You do it with Die Hard. Oh, it's Die Hard on a plane. It's Die Hard on a boat.
Yeah.
It's Waterworld with apes.
Yeah.
That's what you're going with, yeah?
It's post-apocalyptic, so it's true.
Balls. I can't argue with that. No, this is a gorgeous movie. It has a surprising amount of heart. Even after the second one, which made me feel things, this does it in a different way entirely, and it has a fantastic couple of set pieces, and it is probably the benchmark for special effects. And if it doesn't win awards for special effects, there are things that will be smashed over people's heads.
Yeah. We're on 33. My number 33 is a very small, low-budget indie movie from 2013 called Coherence, which happens to star Nicholas Brendon, who was on the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He played Xander.
Yeah.
How could I not do it with...
I know.
Xander's in the movie. I had to do it. Anyway, so this is a movie about parallel universes, and it is a very simple... It's mostly set in a house, and something weird happens, and they start to see signs that maybe there's something bizarre going on. And again, much like some other small budget science fiction films, is all about the ideas and exploring the ideas. And it's kind of trippy. You can kind of guess where some things are going, but then it goes even further than you think it's going to. And like I say, it's all in a house. There's a group of people. The power goes out one night, then they get power back on. And basically, like, it looks like the lights are out everywhere, but there's one house in the distance that still got lights on. And, just to sort of set up the plot a little bit, that might just be a duplicate of their house. And it goes just in wacky directions from there.
This sounds entirely like your sort of movie.
Oh,
honestly, I think I'd love it as well, by the sounds of it.
It's great. I heard about it, I think someone mentioned it in a podcast or something, just in passing. And... It's just like yeah, they did not need a lot of money for this. This is all in a house, pretty much, and just maybe the surrounding areas of the house, and that's the whole movie. But it's so good because it just keeps building upon building ideas. It's great stuff. I highly recommend checking out Coherence if you can track it down. I think it was on Amazon Prime for a while, but you track it down. Have a look see.
Yeah, you find it wherever you are.
Yeah. So what's your 32?
32. Okay, I'm going with Her, which was 2011, around that time.
2013.
2013. Okay, like I said, I'm not good with years.
Why do you keep trying then?
I feel like I'm gonna get them right eventually. I mean, hey, I got a rival right. After I second guessed myself, I was still right. But Her is a unusual romance movie, which I don't know might have won our Patreon vote. I don't know if it did or not.
That's right. It's in the Patreon vote for that. But we were recording before we checked the results for that.
Yeah, so maybe we'll be covering that next month or this month. I don't know, but this is a story of a man falling in love with his phone. Essentially, it's Siri of the future.
To be fair, if Scarlett Johansson was your phone, you might fall in love with her too.
No. See, that's the great thing about this movie. I buy it. Like from the you see how like lonely this man is, and then suddenly you've got like the perfect person to talk to in your pocket at all time. I mean, kind of that's the point of a phone anyway, if you know the person. But they're just there, any time of day, any time of night. At your disposal to talk to, and it's kind of really romantic for a while, until of course things are like not quite as nice as they seem, because that's the point of most of these movies. They kind of go wrong somewhere, and I won't go down that path if you've not seen it, but it made me feel a few things here and there.
Yeah, it's just like Kevin Costner falling in love with that woman on Waterworld. It's kind of a weird romance. It's not conventional. It's a bit different. You're not sure if you should be rooting for it or not because it's kind of weird.
You're going to be stretching on some of these.
Her's great. I love her. Her's a very touching movie. I love it loads. My number 32 is The Fountain, which is a Darren Aronofsky film, and it is very trippy. It's very, very beautiful. Great images in places. Where you have like this really weird futuristic bubble with a tree in it, and he's floating through space. Hugh Jackman, that being who I'm talking about. Rachel Weisz is also in it. And it's a story that doesn't make a whole lot of sense at first when it's cutting between like three different kind of stories. It's got the future thing in the bubble. It's got this weird thing during the Crusades, in the past, and then it's got this present day story. But there is actually a neat solution that fits it all together, which you kind of get by the end of the movie. And it's just it's a story about the beginning, the middle, and the end of a relationship, and it's kind of sweet and beautiful. And it really floored me when I saw it because I think it was the first Aronofsky movie I watched. Unfortunately, he's kind of went into a weird deep end that I've not been as into recently, but I like this a lot. So, The Fountain.
Oh, cool. One of the few of his I haven't seen yet. So my 31. This is a movie that we did on Flux. This is The Iron Giant.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. This is Brad Bird's second best film.
I'll be the judge of that.
I'm letting that say that. Hey, ask me this time next year. It might be third best. I'm just saying. But this is a boy befriends an Iron Giant and teaches him about Superman. What's not to love?
I can't think of a way to connect this to Waterworld, so just keep going.
No. The only reason is you love this too much to want to connect it to Waterworld.
Like I don't love like some of the other ones that I've connected to Waterworld.
Oh, I know. No. This is undoable. You can't do it. I found one.
No, Iron Giant's very touching. I think it speaks to the superhero fans in us.
Of course, it is a Superman movie that you can just watch that isn't tainted by bollocks.
No, see this. No, I'll tell you how this is like Waterworld, because
here we go.
This is the Waterworld to what you think is Brad Bird's best film, which is actually The Postman of Kevin Costner's career, and I think most people agree that Waterworld's the better of the two.
Oh boy. I don't know if most people do agree that this is back on Iron Giant here. Not going to your stupid comparisons. I don't know if most people do agree that this is his best.
Oh, I don't necessarily
conduct a poll.
I don't necessarily think they do. I'm just.
No, you just wanted the dig.
I'm using the Waterworld Postman reference to tell my story. Anyway, my number 31 is a relatively modern classic, although it's now almost 20 years old. So it still feels modern to me. Honestly, anything like 90s and up feels modern to me, really. But
I think there is most decades have a feel to them.
Yeah.
I think 90s is when I would say, okay, that's starting to feel modern. And it shifts in the 2000s, don't be wrong. But
I wouldn't say 70s and 80s feels old either, though. I think 70s and 80s have their own, when both decades have their own feel. It's not really until the 60s where I start to think that's an old movie to me.
Right, I agree with that,
but obviously the youngins today might disagree with that assessment. But no, so my number 31 is The Matrix. Obviously you get your cyberpunk, virtual reality movie with the chosen one inside the system coming out and then believing he's the chosen one and fighting the machines from within. It is actually very anime, funnily enough.
It is. It's very inspired by some very particular animes, isn't it?
It's not. I never realised that at the time. Of course, that's something I've come to know. Over the years, discovering all this various stuff. But The Matrix has very troublesome sequels. But the first one is a really solid damn film. Like it really holds up.
It is. I rewatched that this month for the first time in at least 5 or 6 years. And it really does hold up.
There's a reason why it hit the zeitgeist when it did. It worked.
It's one of those, where a song gets overplayed and you kind of go, ugh, why don't I want to listen to that song? And then you don't hear it, and then 5 years later you hear it go, oh yeah, that was a cracking song.
So I think it holds up really well. It's a really tight action film. It's got good action sequences. It's got a good story. It's got good visuals, sci-fi ideas, and all the rest of it. All of it works really well. And I think, I mean, obviously, I think the sequels kind of sully the memory a little bit. Although now I just forget they exist and just watch this and enjoy it as its
Oh
own
yeah,
thing.
there's a reason I only watched this one.
Yeah. But no, The Matrix is a really, really good movie. And
It is, yeah.
yeah, so no, it's good. It's, I think at the end you fist pump and you really care about the characters and you really, you really get into it. So no, I highly recommend going back and checking The Matrix out again if you've been kind of avoiding it for a long time because you're worried that it's, I mean, don't get me wrong, sure, some of the outfits and stuff are very 90s. You're like, oh god, this is really 90s.
It's the sort of movie that you look at and go, that's probably aged badly, but it really hasn't.
No, because it's well made enough. It's kind of weird how the Wachowskis seemingly aren't actually that good overall. They just kind of almost fluked their way into this great film.
Yeah, it just kind of happened somehow.
I've not seen Bound, and I do actually quite enjoy Speed Racer, for the record.
Mhm.
But I've seen the Matrix sequels. They're terrible. I've not seen Jupiter Ascending, but everyone.
I'm assured it's awful.
Yeah, I'm assured it's awful. Sense8 does have its fans, although it's a very, I'd say, small and passionate fan base as opposed to widespread love for Sense8.
Yeah.
But so they're very, very unique in that sense. But hey, Matrix is really good, so check it out. I mean, I say that as if most people haven't seen The Matrix.
I know, that was a weird sentence.
That's just how you end the phrase. You end the thing. Anyway,
check it out. But you've seen it. So my number 30. Yes, 30. The original Godzilla. This is what started it all for Influx.
Dun, 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 dun. I'm just doing a backing track. You can just.
Oh yeah, okay, Karen. Okay, yeah. This was our very first episode, and it was the first time I'd rewatched it in a while, and oh man, it holds up. It is a classic for a reason. The messaging, it's a different messaging now that we read it because obviously different times, but in context of when it was made, it's a very powerful movie, while being really well written for the characters, which is something you can't say about the 2014 Godzilla movie, and a gorgeous end, 15 minutes or so, like just breathtaking.
Yeah, the first big the big main like Godzilla going through the city is also absolutely gorgeous. Black and white. It feels like a horror movie almost at times because it feels so eerie. It has these vibes. The sequels, while fun, don't have that feeling to it.
Godzilla really is treated as a horror.
Yeah.
This scourge of nature.
Yeah, the nuclear bomb. It really feels like a weapon of mass destruction. It's terrifying. So, no. Yeah. He's basically the Ace Caps of Waterworld, essentially.
Okay, very good. I'm not saying anything.
My number 30 is a movie that Connor underrates, unfortunately, because he's a moron. It is The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. A fantastic film. We're back to... Every so often, one of my sci-fi picks will be like a really good love story. And this is one of these films. It's not ultra sci-fi, it's a very sort of simple, grounded sort of science fiction take where there's just this technology to erase one's memories of a person if you want to choose to do that. And the story of the film is that Jim Carrey, his girlfriend's Kate Winslet, they have a really bad breakup, he wants to forget her, but we see in his head as the memories are being ripped away, he's kind of living through them as they're being torn apart. And as it's happening, he realised that he doesn't actually want to lose these memories, because as badly as it ended, there was a lot of nice times, there was a lot of good memories, and it was a good part of his life, and he doesn't want to lose that. It's got a lot to say about relationships. It's a really interesting exploration of who people are, and I think you can take the ending in a very cynical way, or you can take it in a very kind of charming, hopeful way, depending on what sort of prick you are. I'm assuming Connor took it the cynical way, because I know what he's like. So, but I love it. I see hope in the ending. And I know others do too. It's a very beautiful film, really simple ideas, but really complex in their sort of execution. I think it's shot really well. I think it's really well directed as well, on top of that.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. I watched that recently. If you watch our movie news show that we recently started up, you will know how I feel about this. I think it's a very good movie. And I'm not saying that anything you said there was wrong. I think it was overhyped for me. It didn't quite live up to my expectations. So maybe when I watch this again in a few years, if I do, I might reconsider.
All right, what's your 29?
Okay, this is where things. This is one I know you haven't seen, you will never watch because you will hate it with a passion. No. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, actually.
Oh, go on.
This is Tokyo Tribe.
I have never heard of this.
No. So this is in alternate history Japan, and we're slightly in the future.
Is it animated?
No, this is live action.
Oh, okay. All right.
And Tokyo is controlled by gangs. There's a few different gangs, and they go to war, and it's an all-out insane action movie. However, there's the caveat that will make you hate, because you're going right now going, "Oh,
yeah, what's wrong with this? This sounds fine. This sounds like some sort of Warriors-esque Japan Tokyo movie. What's going on?"
Here's the twist. It's a musical.
What a way to ruin a good concept! What a way to ruin it!
Oh, there we go. I was waiting for it. It is utterly insane, this movie. Like, I can't describe how insane this movie is. It really is balls to the wall out there.
I'm sorry, is
fantastic.
This top 50 musicals? No, it's top 50 sci-fi. Keep your musical trash off my episode.
It's in the future. It's like a dystopian sort of gang future. It counts. Screw you. And you don't know enough about this to make it Waterworld.
Well, Tokyo is like the water, and then the gangs like the various, the gangs on the water world.
Yeah.
It's not that different.
It's
not that different. Sure. If Dennis Hopper started singing, it'd be just like this movie.
Honestly, though, if there's one movie on my list that I recommend you check out, even just out of morbid curiosity of what I just said, this is the one.
My number 29 is, I would go back to my childhood actually. This is the one that I grew up on. This is a Joe Dante film called Explorers. This is a film that came out in the same year as The Goonies, and everyone talks about The Goonies, everyone remembers The Goonies, and I'm not dissing on The Goonies, I love The Goonies, but I love this just as much. It's three kids, one of whom is a young Ethan Hawke, when he was like 12, which is kind of weird, or 13, 14, whatever he was.
Has a picture, because I've not seen this.
River Phoenix is one of the young kids who, of course, tragically died at a young age later on. But they're three kids, and the plot of this movie, again, sort of 80s kids, they're on bikes, is that they build a spaceship, and they go into freaking space. And I love it. This is it's that, if you've been enjoying Stranger Things, this is exactly the sort of movie you might want to go back and dig out and say, hey, I'll give this a try. And
sounds fun.
Yeah, one of the kids, the smart kid, basically designs this like weird. I mean, obviously the science here is absolute nonsense, but he designs like a bubble that can control and float. So they build a ship to go inside the bubble, so they can go up to wherever.
Why not?
And they build the ship out of like an old like fairground ride. It's one of these circular things with the sort of thing. So everyone goes in and it spins round. They take that and they build a spaceship out of it, and they put seats in, and they've got little screens, and it's great. It's I love it.
Sounds like a blast.
It's unfortunately not as remembered as much as some of the other movies of the era of this kind, but
I have to be honest, I'm not really familiar with it.
And some people don't like how ultra sort of sci-fi it goes in the last I mean, even slightly silly when they actually. I'll just say the third act they actually got into a spaceship, but I'm all about it. I'm so into it. And of course, Joe Dante, regular Dick Miller's in it. He's like this guy who's trying to track down the weird radar readings that he's been getting. So he's looking into like what's going on, and he's trying to stop the kids. But it's great.
This is one for when we inevitably do the 80s month. I'll be sure to put on my to watch list.
I love Explorers. It's the sort of thing that I'd imagine I'd think about as a kid. I'd imagine I could build a spaceship and go to space. Yeah. So no, it plays to my sensibilities. I love it. It's great. Where's your 28?
Okay, so we're going from your really fun, upbeat thing you loved to where you start to get angry. This is it. You want to take a guess?
No, just hit me.
Oh, okay.
Pull it off quick.
I'm going with Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I know. Contentious, to say the least. I stand by it.
It's not even just that I dislike. I think it's garbage. I actually think it's garbage.
I know you do. I love it. I really do. I think it's I agree. There are a couple of moments that are a bit overly fan servicey. I'm not going to dispute that, but I think there are some amazing moments. I think the plot overall is fun. Don't care what you say. I know it's. You could say, "Oh, it's redundant. We didn't need to see this." I don't care if I didn't need to see it. I enjoyed seeing it, and I like characters, unlike you in this movie. And K2SO is a particular
Hold on.
highlight.
You like the characters. Don't say I don't like characters. I like characters. I like
No,
good
you,
characters.
okay. Yeah,
I don't like
all right,
characters
missed
in
a
this
word.
movie because they're cardboard cutouts. They have no personality or charisma.
And he doesn't like K2SO.
Which really upsets because Alan Tudyk did the voice, and I like Alan Tudyk, but
Alan Tudyk's great.
I feel like it was trying to be what's his face from Guardians?
Drax.
Aye, Drax. I was thinking Batista. That's his
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
But
I'm trying to think who it could
Drax.
be. But, I mean, I get what you're saying, but this isn't a lack of understanding. This is just an extremely dry wit. So it's
Okay.
different.
It fell flat for me. The entire film fell
That's
flat for
fine.
me.
And I'm not here to get into this again. We've done this many a time. So we can just go, this is where I've had it. You can be annoyed about all the movies I've put it above, and we can move on.
I can sum it up quite neatly. It's better than the prequels because it actually looks like a film. You know, actually looks like has gritty quality to it in terms of the visuals. But there's not much else that really separates it that much. So, trash. Anyway, what are we on? 28. My 28 is a film we did in Flux. And it is one that I watched for the first time when we did it on Flux. So this is kind of notable. This is Stalker. The Andrei Tarkovsky film, which is a Russian film from the end of the 70s, and it's set in this weird future where something landed, maybe aliens. The film is intentionally kind of vague about it. It's kind of the point. But it created this area called the Zone. And no one's allowed to go in there. The government has it all cordoned off. Military's kind of guarding it. But people believe that inside the Zone, there is the Room. And inside the Room, there is something that can grant you a wish, essentially. Something you want. It will grant you a desire in your life. So the stalker in this case is not the traditional what you think of as when you think of the word stalker. A stalker in this movie is someone who is a guide who will take you into the Zone and take you to the Room so you can ask for something. And that's what the movie's about. It's all about ideas. It's about humanity. There's a lot of themes going on. It's definitely, kind of art house, and it's definitely a drama, and it's, it's slow. It's not an action movie. It's not any of this. But if you like a bit of thinking science fiction and philosophy, it's definitely got philosophy in there. It's definitely got social commentary in there. And there's some nice parallels in this as well to things like Chernobyl and disasters like that. Where the government would lie about them. Not Chernobyl itself, because everyone knew what that was, but other smaller similar incidents that they covered up. Very, very interesting. So I like this a lot. I thought this was a really...
it was an excellent movie. And again, we went a while on that movie discussing it.
Yeah, we went 90 minutes, and then we just kind of said we need to stop, even though we could probably keep going for a long time.
It's one of those movies that just inspires conversation.
Yeah.
Because it's all just, okay, here's an idea. What about, but what if it's this? Or what if you do that?
Yeah, it's a movie where you sit down and try and interpret what it means to you afterwards. And we had multiple interpretations.
I think we settled on ultimately different interpretations. I don't think either of us are necessarily right or wrong, but it's something to be experienced. Shut up.
What? Think of the audio people. You just said shut up, and they didn't hear a thing from me. They didn't hear a peep.
No, they didn't. But they can picture you pulling faces, making motions, being a dick, implying that you were right and I was wrong with our interpretations. Hey, look, your smug attitude comes across even without words.
Thank you.
I'm not sure that was a compliment.
I'm taking it as one. I'm good with that. Anyway, 27. What's your 27?
27. Okay, I've got Interstellar for 27. This is a very, very, very grounded space travel movie. And the way it treats everything.
The space travel's somewhat grounded. I don't know if I'd call it a grounded movie overall.
No. As I said, space travel, which is a large portion of the movie. I mean, up till like a point, it's
I know, but like when I think of Interstellar, the first thing I think about is the insane ideas it goes with towards the end.
I was getting to that.
All right,
God damn it! I was building it's because that's why that lands so well, is because it's so straight, it's so grounded for 80% of the movie, where everything is, oh no, this is exactly what it's like. Everything is, oh no, time is like this. There's all time dilation when we travel at this speed. There's all these factors that are in play. And then it gets to the end and he goes, screw it, we're going mad. And
Yeah.
it's glorious.
Christopher Nolan had a conversation with both Grant Morrison and Jonathan Hickman before he wrote this movie, and that's where the ending came from. That was a reference to a couple of comic book writers, if you're not familiar with them, but it made sense to fans of comics, what I just said.
I can confirm he's not
Yeah.
chatting bollocks this time.
Oh, yeah. Now, I like it still a lot. I've not seen it in a while. I'm curious to revisit it, because I'm curious to see how I feel about the ending on a viewing now. After knowing what's coming and
I have seen this since since it's in the cinema, so I've got that perspective of knowing where it's going.
I did like it a lot, but I have to admit I did have a bit of a whiplash when it switched.
No, it's true. I liked this more the second time I saw it. When I knew where it was going, or I knew things that it was setting up early on, I found it more enjoyable.
So I mean, I do like it, but I didn't love it necessarily as much as a few of other Nolan's films, so I'm curious to see where it sits once I've watched it again, with a previous viewing kind of in mind. Because a lot of it, everyone remembers the docking scene where the thing's spinning and the organs are just going, like, Hans Zimmer, it's like, I've not done organs before, and he's just like bashing away on organs.
I remember, for the next year, just organ sounds everywhere. Like, everyone was going, organs are in. Shit, Zimmer's brought in organs.
It was the same after Inception, where every trailer had the
the Zimmer horn. Yeah.
Actually, there was a website for a while. It was just a big red button. You could just press it, and it would do the brum for you.
I have to be honest. I got sick of that noise, but I watched a masterclass of Zimmer where he described, what went into making that, the layers. Fascinating. It's more than you do that noise. You've gone, I've got it. It's sussed, but it's so layered and complex.
I like the idea that he spent like an hour in a documentary explaining all this, but in reality, he's just in a sound booth going, brum.
And then he's gone, shit, what do I tell them it is?
I can't just admit I'm a fraud. I make noises. That's what I do. Yeah, exactly. I'm the guy from Police Academy. I just do the noises. My number 27, bit of a classic, one that Connor's not seen yet, although he will later this year when we get close to a movie coming out. That is Predator.
Oh yeah.
Back to the Arnie. A few Arnie movies on here, and you know what? I'll say it right now. I know some people have bad things to say about Predator 2. I love Predator 2. Predator 2 is pretty good. I'm not going to have this Predator 2 hate.
Let's see how I feel about it. Honestly, I wanted to get to this month, but time eluded me.
But I mean, yeah, because we were almost considering pre-recording the Predator discussion that we won't put up until a few months when we start working through them for the new one coming out. But we didn't
ultimately, it was lower priority because I knew I'd be doing it in a few months anyway. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Predator is an action movie. It is a movie that so many low-budget trash try to replicate because they thought, it's just shooting in a jungle. We can do that. We can go into a forest and just kind of do Predator. And many movies have tried and they fail. It's from John McTiernan, who also directed Die Hard, what he did after this. But it's got many iconic scenes. The Predator design is amazing. Stan Winston, of course, designed the Predator, and it's iconic for a reason. Like that image of the Predator sticks out. The fact that it has different vision, where it sees in infrared and things like that. Great stuff. Love it. Action scenes are very good. When it all boils down to the final 20 minutes, where it's just Arnold versus the Predator. Because up until that point, you've got this team of fairly memorable characters, actually. I mean, Jesse the Body Ventura is one of the characters. Everyone remembers, I ain't got time to bleed. Everyone remembers that line. Even the action scene near the start, though, before the Predator stuff really kicks off, when they're just going into this camp, again, very good. It was all these guys in camo rolling through the leaves and taking them down slowly, and of course Arnold's one-liners stick around and all the rest of it. But it's a really well done film. Every time I rewatch it, I am impressed with how well it's paced and holds up, because I feel and I think this comes from the fact that so many bad films try to make a movie set in the jungle or the forest because they think it's cheap, and they're always terrible. That I'm always impressed when I go back to this and go, no, if you actually make this a proper movie, it can work just as well.
When you know what you're doing.
Yeah, when you're not just sitting going, this is they're just being cheap and shooting this location. They're not. Like, they're in this location because it makes sense. Because
Use it for design rather than just because, hey, we can come out here for free and you can't see cars.
It's a movie about an alien who likes to hunt, hence the title Predator, but that's the whole thing.
It makes sense.
So it makes sense to be in the jungle, which is why I love that the second one takes place in a city, and it's still pretty good. May not be as iconic or as classic as the first one, but Predator. Good Alan Silvestri score as well. Not the sort of score that I would listen to, admittedly, but it's got a cracking couple of cues that play throughout the film.
It has. I have given it a listen, just because I do that sort of thing.
But it's not got like some like... it doesn't have like the emotional theme you might listen to or the serene stuff.
No. It's very... I listen to these sorts of things anyway, and yeah, it's pretty solid. I mean, without context, but yeah, it's solid.
And Shane Black, who wrote it, is going to direct the new one, is also in the movie in a role. He's one of the actors in it.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, that's actually when I think it was when Kiss Kiss Bang Bang came out, and I learned about Shane Black as a director, and I was like, oh, he wrote the Lethal Weapon movies. He's going to, I think next he's going to do an Iron Man movie or whatever. I think it was maybe before that, but someone said, oh, you know him because he's in Predator. I'm like, what do you mean he's in Predator? He's the one who tells the pussy jokes. I'm like, oh, you know what that means when you see it.
That's fine. I mean, obviously I'm familiar with him now anyway, but I didn't realise he was in the movie as an actor, so that's news to me.
Go on,
so, 26. So we're closing out this video.
Yeah, final picks for each of us.
Yes, and I'm afraid to say this is going to be one that's going to disappoint you. I think.
I don't think too low or too high?
It would be too high. I don't think you're not going to have this on yours. I don't think you're going to go, oh, it's a bad movie. But Blade Runner 2049.
Okay, yeah.
I don't. You don't think it's a bad movie, but you didn't love it. I fell in love with the way this movie looks and sounds and feels.
I like all that
it
stuff.
Sucked me in. I know, but that sucked me in, and then the plot kind of caught up with me halfway through. And I'm like, okay, I'm really into this now.
I might, honestly, maybe the sort of thing where I rewatch it, I might like it more. I think, like, I didn't know what to feel going into that movie. Because we just rewatched Blade Runner, and I liked Blade Runner less that time than I did before. Yeah. So I went in a really weird mood with Blade Runner. And I thought it was better for the most part because I thought that the actual detective stuff was actually detecting things and not just what the first one was. And it has good music, has good visuals, has all these things. There was just a few things that were kind of just not hitting it out of the park for me. Even though in theory I love everything it's doing with its themes.
No, that's fair. And unlike we just mentioned there, the original Blade Runner, at least this time didn't quite land for us. This, I was worried going in because I was like, okay, I just watched that. It didn't really work. Can this live up?
I'll tell you what thing I do hate from that movie that I do think is objectively bad is Jared Leto.
I will concede to that, but it's a 2-hour 45 movie and he's in it for about 8 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's like 2 scenes, so they're long scenes of him monologuing, and
no, that's true. They are easily the worst parts of the movie. I will not fight you on that.
Yeah.
You should have just slashed his character entirely and have him be, shady background stuff.
Oh yeah, I did. Like, right after it came out, we talked about it, or I talked about it with Matt. I basically cut him out of the movie and told you how it would work without him, and it worked better. At least I thought it did. I mean,
I haven't listened to what you said about it. I know your general feelings, but I haven't listened to the review. But I can see it. It's just why is he there?
Because it makes the other villain who's actually tracking them and fighting them, like, just give her more of a motivation on her own to do this. And have him be on scene, and that would work better. And instead, we get these couple of weird scenes with him, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's got some gorgeous effects though, and not just this is gorgeous practical effects and enhancing with CG. So we talked about earlier. So props for that.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer doing his best to replicate the original score.
Do you know what? That was something that was very weird because it was supposed to have another composer up till like 2 or 3 months before, and then they said, "Oh no, don't worry, we got Zimmer in." And I groaned. I was not looking forward to that because I was, I think the score is the best part of the original movie by far. And I wasn't sure Zimmer was up to sticking with that style. And other than a few, big drummy bits, it's it's the least Zimmer thing I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Honestly, that whole drummer thing, where people associate the big drums with Hans Zimmer, I feel like that's not something you used to have. That was something that developed over time. If you go back to his early stuff, I feel like you don't hear the big drums.
It's once he got. You don't. I actually, again, this is one where I know the history of. It's a case of he couldn't afford them for a long time. Because, no, this is true. He couldn't afford it for a long time because to get drums of that size, to get players, it's very expensive. And it got to a point where he had enough saved up, and he hired a bunch out for a day just for himself, and he recorded his own sample library, and now he uses it consistently. And now, okay, he'll get them in as well to do new things, but for a lot of it, he's just got it, and he'll use it. And
yeah, I feel like for like Batman movies, he gets to get his orchestra the way he wants it. I imagine.
Oh yeah. Once you get to that stuff, but a lot of his stuff is actually blended with his own sample libraries as well. It's why he often has a very unique sound to it, because it's his sound.
No, that's cool. I mean, I can't fault it too much. I hope I like it more when I see it again, which I will do at some point. Admittedly, it's so bloody long that it's kind of intimidating to put it on again.
No, I get that.
But I don't hate it. Like, as much as I have a lot of negative things to say about it, it's doing mostly things I like. It's just yeah. Anyway, so my final pick of this part, number 26, is the classic The Invisible Man from 1933. It's sci-fi. It's a bit comedy. You've got this character who turns himself invisible, and he's a kind of an asshole, but he's a lovable asshole, and he starts doing all these wacky things, and it's a classic mad scientist movie.
He's the sort of guy where if you became invisible now, you'd be a dick and do some shit.
But it's actually my favourite of the Universal monster movies, the classics. I love a lot of those movies, but Invisible Man's my favourite. And
I've not seen all of them, but out of the ones I have seen, that stands out as my favourite. So.
I've not seen all the sequels, but I've seen all the core movies.
Yeah.
But no, I like it a lot. I think it's very jovial. It has obviously it has some social commentary in there, but it's just really entertaining. And I'm like, it's just rare that a movie this old has comedy that holds up. Now 80 years later, but sure enough, it does. So Invisible Man is my final pick of this part 1. So that is us. That is the end of part 1. We will return with part 2. You'll get that in a few days. This is up early for patrons, of course. So YouTube will get it a few days later. And again, but instead of being a week earlier, it'll be half a week, so that it sort of links up again when we go back to the movies with next week. So that is what's happening. So by all means, let us know what you think of the picks so far. If you want to make your own sci-fi list, by all means. People did that with the 2000s, and it was fun seeing their picks in the comments.
Yeah, some objectively just wrong lists, but hey, you do you.
Oh, dear. But no, it's always fun seeing the other lists in the comments and all that stuff. Like, subscribe, all the usual jazz. Get us on Patreon at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can do that in there. And there's a link in the description, of course, to that and other things like the vault. Go check out that. I won't explain that because we've talked long enough. We're at 90 minutes or so now, so I will use this to kind of wrap us up. But I am stalling a little bit because I want to have a bit of time so that all the lists so far can scroll up at the bottom of the screen, because I do that at the end of these. So
I wonder why you were taking a while.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm thinking this in the head, because I don't want to start while we're still talking like 2 entries ago,
Yeah.
So,
you don't want to have to just rush it through it too quick.
Yeah, because I've got a pace that I keep at, because I've got like a template that I made.
Yeah, you don't want to be messing with that. That's too much effort.
Exactly. So this is the least amount of work possible. It's just to stall for a minute before we go.
Yeah. Do you think we've done enough yet?
Probably. But yeah, so we'll see you for the top 25 very soon, in a few days' time. And hopefully you got some recommendations. Hopefully you enjoy some of the picks. By all means, yell at us for some of the other picks. I feel like there's certain picks that I know we're going to get shit for.
Oh, absolutely, both of us.
Both of us. You definitely know. And I can see once the whole list is out or is getting shit for. Wait a minute, this wasn't on there, but you had.
Oh, this was above that.
Yeah. I feel it'll be a few of those, but it's okay. We're all here to have fun. So, but no, that is us. So thank you once again for sticking around, watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, and we'll see you next time.